How's it going, my little Peters? Welcome back to the channel. I'm back to tell a story about the most intense trip I've ever had on shrooms. Now, I've taken shrooms a handful of times prior to this experience, but I've never encountered a trip like this one before. But before we get into the story, I hope you guys enjoy these types of videos. Leave a like and hit that subscribe button, and let me know if you guys have had any other similar experiences, or hell, any other related stories. Leave them in the comments below. I'd love to check them out. So a few weeks back, the homie at work, we'll call him Johnny, comes up to me and is like, "Yo, my plug's moving away, he's leaving the state, I'm bringing up in tonight, you want me to see if I can get you some acid or some shrooms?" Naturally, I was like, "Shit, yeah bro, I'd take a strip of acid." So he's like, "Bet bro, I got you, a strip will run you about $80 per usual." So I was like, "Sick bro, I'll get you the money tomorrow." Well, as the title of the video states, I actually didn't end up with acid, but instead I ended up with the best shrooms I've ever dosed. So Johnny heads up to meet his plug to pick up the acid and some other shit, right? So he gets there and his plug is like, "Hey bro, I just had a guy clear me all out of acid. I'm completely out. But I still got those shrooms and everything else you need." So Johnny hits me up and he's like, "Hey bro, I can't get you the acid. He was just cleared out like 20 minutes before I got here. But what I can do is I can still get you those fire ass shrooms and I'll even throw in extra for the hassle." So I was like, "Bet, I'll definitely take those shrooms. I just want to have a good ass trip since it's been a few months since my last dose." He sent me a picture of these fucking things, boys. Let me tell you about these goddamn shrooms. These fuckholes were some of the most inked up shrooms I've ever laid my eyes upon. Shrooms I've had in the past maybe had some ink underneath the caps and maybe some on the stems if I was lucky. But the shrooms Johnny picked up, holy fuck. Just looking at them all covered in ink, we just knew they were going to be some of the most potent shrooms we've ever had. So the following day, Johnny brings them bitches to work. He puts them in my car because I was already at work and it makes it less obvious, you know. And I gave him his 80 bones. So now I'm at work, just thinking about when I'm going to actually take these shrooms. I eventually settled on taking them on one of my days off. I have Tuesdays and Wednesdays off, but come Monday night, I didn't want to wait until the next day to take these shrooms. I was ready to kick back and trip. So by the time I got back home from work Monday, it was about 9 p.m. I went to the store prior to coming back home because I had a really great idea of how exactly I was going to consume these shrooms. You know, I wanted to get the most out of this trip. So the idea I came up with was to make a shroom smoothie. So at the store I picked up some strawberries, bananas, orange juice, as well as a bottled strawberry banana smoothie for a little extra thickness. Although I do regret not picking up lemons though, because if you didn't know, there's something found in citrus fruits like lemons and oranges called acetic acid, which can make your trips more intense. Fresh lemons and oranges contain much more than orange juice because orange juice you buy from the store is pretty dilute. Anyways, to get back on track, I'm back home and I started getting things prepared to make this shroom smoothie. I'm getting hyped as shit, so I quickly change out of my work clothes and get things situated. Finally, the time comes. I bust out the trusty magic bullet and I put in 5 grams of those cracked ass shrooms. Then I cut up about half a banana, washed about 5 strawberries, chucked those bitches into the bullet, filled the cup halfway with orange juice and the rest of the way with that strawberry banana smoothie. I screwed the blade on and let that concoction blend together for about a minute or so until it was practically as smooth as possible. After it's all blended up, I take that beautiful shroom smoothie to my desk and I load up some YouTube to try and chill while I consume this psychoactive beverage. So I started down in this bitch, right? It was actually pretty solid, I didn't even taste the shrooms. But I shit you not, only about 15 minutes later I started feeling the come up hit me dummy strong. I'm feeling like I just smoked 3 big hits from a bong, like I'm feeling pretty damn amazing right now. Probably about 30 or so minutes in, I start messing with this Philips Hue bulb I have in the ceiling fan in my room. I was on my phone changing the color in this thing to try and figure out what color I wanted the room to be while I'm tripping, you know? I just had to set the vibe right. Eventually, I settled on this darker blue color. The reason being is that it seemed like it was making some certain little visuals that I was getting pop out more. So I felt like the blue light would actually be more efficient in getting the most out of my visuals. So now at this point, I'm watching some YouTube. And about 15 minutes later, my visuals start flooding in. These were like no ordinary visuals I've ever experienced in the past. It wasn't just some tracers and some patterns moving around and making everything more lively. No, these visuals hit me like a ton of bricks. Immediately, the floor started to move like waves of the ocean. I was like, damn, this trip is about to hit me like a freight train, so I better go take a piss while I still have the chance. So I stood up and I damn near fell over. I was already tripping so hard, I could barely move and walk around. Making it to the bathroom that was like 3 feet away was actually more of a pain in the ass than you might think. Anyways, after the struggle piss, I finally made it back into my room and sat back at my desk. As I sat down, I started to notice some items on my desk developing a red outer glow to them. So my room was dark blue and some objects had a red outer glow. So a funny thing about this is, a few days prior, my cousin told me about this movie he wanted us to watch called Mandy, which starred Nicolas Cage, released back in 2018. Well, Cage played a character named Red. Spoiler alert, who succumbed to a traumatizing trip from some tainted LSD. The movie portrayed this trip with a prominent dark blue and red dark light, which was exactly what I was experiencing on this trip. The craziest thing about this was that we didn't even watch this movie until I had already tripped. I never heard or seen anything about this movie beforehand. So the fact that this trip was so eerily similar to the effects used in Mandy really blew my mind, because that is one huge ass coincidence. Anyways, to get back on track, I'm starting to trip massive balls, man. A few more minutes pass by, I just end up sitting back in my chair not moving at all. I was just letting things take their course, which is when things started getting even more interesting. At this point, reality was starting to morph around me as I started to trip so hard. I ended up on my ground, on my back, with my head propped up on the legs of my chair in front of my desk. I was down for the count, bro. So while I was down on the ground, I remember looking to my left, and just like in the movie Mandy, I saw these figures that looked human-like. They were coming in one by one. There were a total of like 7 or 8 of them that came into my room from the back patio entrance to my apartment. Although they were all funneling in like they owned the place, they actually kept their distance, about 2 feet away from me. They didn't come any closer than that, and within a few minutes they were just gone. Poof, they vanished. Dude, I was definitely peaking at this point, as I remained on the floor for the next few hours trying to process everything that had gone on so far. It felt like I was the only one of my kind in this alternate reality, and that it was like fight or flight. I didn't know if I was going to be okay or if I was going to die. What's really crazy is I didn't even actually feel any fear or anxiety towards any of this. None of this scared me at all, which was super out of the ordinary, because I feel like I would have a negative reaction to these hallucinations. But instead, I was just blown away and super interested in everything that's happened so far. So after a few hours passed, I finally got up from the ground, and my visuals were starting to dwindle down a bit. So I knew I was starting to come down from the peak. So after a few hours passed, I got up from the ground and my visuals were starting to dwindle down a bit. So I knew I was starting to come down from the peak, and I honestly wanted to keep the peak alive. You know, just to see what else would happen. So I grabbed my trusty dab pen off my desk and I started chiefing that thing, dude. I took several big rips and pretty much immediately my visuals came soaring back. They slapped me in the face. So I decided to say, fuck sitting on my desk, I'm gonna go chill on the couch in the living room, get a little cozy. There was another reason I wanted to go into the living room, that being the ceiling fan in the living room has 3 Philips Hue bulbs. Each one is set to purple, orange, and blue. And let me tell you, these 3 colors made any shadow cast in that room have 5 differently colored shadows. The colors that were casted were yellow, blue, orange, pink, and black. The living room having white walls made my shadow extra sharp and colorful, which made it super trippy to look at. So as the next few hours go by, I keep hitting my dab pen continuously to enhance my visuals until finally at around 11 a.m. my trip was over. Man, I was so worn out and exhausted that I just crashed on the couch in my living room. One thing to take away from this is that I did experience ego death, so my sense of self is a little fucked after that. But other than that, it was one hell of a time. So there you have it. That was the most intense trip I've ever experienced on shrooms. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like on the video, hit that subscribe button to join the Little Peter Pack so you don't miss out on any stories or videos I post in the future. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves.